What's up? I am Jacob Raven, and this is another video. That's why it's on your screen right now. A lot of people think they want to quit their job, start their own business, and that way they'll have the freedom to do things the way they want to. But I think that's kind of missing the point a little bit because, if anything, you're probably going to work a lot harder and probably for a while make a lot less money than you would at a job. But I don't want the job to be a trap. I think the point of this video is to talk about how maybe a different way to think about how you would start a business if you were going to. And you don't want to just chase the trends, because by the time you see a YouTuber talking about a specific niche, like selling stickers or mugs or something, then it's probably already saturated. And one of the things that I think would be helpful is if you can think through the path of where this is going to maybe logically end up at. I mean, any business is, if you grow it and it scales, then I think any business is going to end up with you in some kind of a boardroom, just handling data, handling the numbers and other people working under you doing different things. But along the way, like if you're gonna start a business selling stickers, for example, I mean, how many stickers do you have to sell to make that into a multi-million dollar business? I'm not saying it can't be done. You can get you can maybe get repeat buyers on like selling specific stickers to different organizations that have their name printed on them or something. Maybe, I mean, there might be some recurring revenue. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm sure anything can be done with enough volume, but when you look at some of these things like drop shipping, and a lot of these videos seem to be telling you like the positives and not necessarily the negatives. And when I listen to a lot of interviews of businesses, there is a survivorship bias going on. And what that means is they're interviewing the person who was successful out of thousands of people who couldn't make it work. So you're hearing the one story of the person who's able to sell, uh, you know, 2-inch magnets, refrigerator magnets for like, making a few $1,000s a day. And that person was able to make it work somehow. They had a specific way of doing it. But it's not going to work for a lot of people because you just either you don't have the right time, you don't have the right market, or some other reason. But it's the survivorship bias. You have to be able to discern that some of the things that you're seeing online are the people who were the most successful. And by the time they're doing it and telling how they did it, then there's going to be people copying that and commoditizing that process as well. So if they found a loophole or a keyhole or a tiny way to make money in a market that was already saturated and difficult, by the time they're telling you how to do it or telling thousands of people how to do it, that keyhole's closing. Like there's a lot more people that are going to jump in and fill that void. So it's not meant to turn you off from it. What I want people to do more is you're pushing hard to get away from the pain of the job that you're working at. And there's a lot of people out there that are willing to take advantage of that and sell you on a dream. And I think it would be more fulfilling to create your own dream, figure out what you want to do. And I know that there are people out there that will say not to worry about your passion. And that's also, there's one I'm thinking about in particular right now, like Alex Hormozy, for example. He's been popular for saying, F happiness. And he went for the money to buy the happy life that he wanted. And, I love listening to a lot of Alex Hormozy's advice. I've listened to many, 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 many hours of his podcasts, watched the videos, I've bought and read the books. But there's still some survivorship bias there because he's not the only one to have understood what it is that he's doing. He's just one of the ones talking about it. And his earlier success, he caught a lot of things at the right time. Now, I'm not trying to talk him down because he took every single opportunity and maximized it, and that's how he grew so quickly. But it was a different time, different market, a lot of things lined up differently. And he's not the only one to have done that. But he definitely made the most of it. So he was smart enough to take those opportunities and run with it. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because I think a lot of people will find what they think they can do, fairly low cost investment to get into. You'll leave your job to start some like a pressure washing company or a junk removal company, and those are definitely needed. You can make a lot of money. Is that the thing that you want to spend your life being an expert in? Like, is that the thing at the end of the day you're going to be like, that was a rewarding life doing that? And some people don't care about that. Maybe you just care about the money, and that's great. There are some people like that, and that's fine. But for some other people, I mean, unless you're making those millions, that may not. You're replacing your job with another job, and if you can see the pathway to making those millions, then great. But if you can't understand that, then you're basically replacing your job with a worse job where you have all of the liability, all of the responsibilities, and it just doesn't seem like a very fulfilling, and it doesn't seem like a very productive path. I would rather focus on thinking through, okay, if I'm going to start a business, where does it end up at? Okay, what does it look like when you're running $1 million company where you're going to be in a boardroom or something? To say we've already discussed that, but along the way, halfway across there, where you got to start doing it yourself and do the grind. And so when you're going through the growing of that company, sometimes it might be a fast growth, sometimes it might take years. What does it look like? Okay, so if you're working a job right now, so you're going to start it out as like a side hustle. You're going to be booking your weekends, maybe your evenings to do this thing. And are you able to sustain doing that thing long enough to build it into an actual company where you have revenue coming in, where you can hire employees, et cetera, et cetera? And building up the bank, because if you don't have jobs coming in, how are you going to pay the employees, right? So some of these side hustles just don't work well because you got to be able to get out and hustle. And I know there's going to be a lot of people where you can run ads. Ads cost a lot of money now. That'll add up quick, which is fine, again, if you have the revenue coming in. So I think what I'm trying to get at here is that if your only motivation is your ego not wanting to work a job, then you need to be able to think through the path of what it is that you're trying to work on doing and decide that it's something that you actually want to work on for the next few years, at least. At least that's the thing you want to be doing with your free time that'll get you to enough money to have other people doing it for you. And it's a difficult time to think through that when you have bad markets and all the polarizations and all these things going. AI, oh, AI. People are worried about AI, and I think that the news and the government, the people who are there to control you and control the masses, are really good at keeping people afraid. Fear. There's always fear. And when you can recognize that, I don't think that AI is going to change too much of anything. I mean, we came out with car industries and AI is different. It's not. It's the technology. It's like calculators coming out to where you don't have to do long division and figure out how to carry the remainder anymore. It's this AI is got the potential to transform a lot of things, and we've had a lot of industries do similar things, but I don't think it's going to replace everything. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, and if that's the case, then they don't need the humans anymore. And what's the point of even doing that? So I don't really think AI is set to take over everything, but it may completely transform everything. You don't see rooms full of typewriters anymore. You got one person running a computer doing what teams of people used to do with a typewriter. And I think AI could cause something like that too. I think probably you're going to see more personalization and stuff. But this isn't about AI. This is about thinking through if you're going to start a side business, like what it is that you want to do. Some people think they don't want to work, but I don't think that's true either. Like it's, if you're able-bodied, you're probably going to have to work some shape or form, unless you're already rich. Because I mean, even then, like if you're given the option to do nothing, it'll drive you crazy. You're going to want to do something. And so you might as well figure it out on the move while you're at a job now and try to find something that has some type of an alignment with a routine that will allow you to flow. Um, if you can find that flow state and it works for you, then it'll be much easier to build it up. And it's something that you enjoy and you enjoy talking about it a lot. Imagine that you're successful and you become a millionaire with, I don't know, pick whatever side hustle. And you have people lining up to interview you to ask you about how you became so successful at junk removal or how you became so successful at, painting parking lot lines. There's nothing wrong with that. If you enjoy it and you can talk about it for hours and days, I mean, great. But I mean, unless you want to spend the rest of your life talking about how, the different kinds of paint that you use to paint the lines in the parking lot, then that may not be something you really want to get into. Just because it's an option doesn't mean it's the right option for you. And I think just having a backup plan, have a little savings and the ability to pivot, because I think fear is probably one of those motivators where they keep people afraid all the time. You're always afraid. If it's not the government, it's the company that you work for. They want you to be scared you're going to lose your job. I don't know what the benefit is there. Maybe that's the only way they think they can get people to show up, on a daily basis. Um, but I find it's not really a good motivator. But it's what you see constantly everywhere you go. So it's just always the fear. And yet as soon as it's not beneficial to have you around anymore, they'll dump you anyway. So with no, the fear is always going to be there. They make you afraid to show up late, afraid to do this, afraid to do that, and then it's like at the end of the day, they'll cut you loose if they want to anyway. So you really need to have a backup plan anyway. And to me, the backup plan is to have, a couple of different buckets of savings, whether you have like some investments or maybe a little cash savings or something like that, and, try to keep your debt paid down. But then also have these ideas and side hustle ideas that you can work on and think through where you're like, if it hits the fan and I can't work at this job anymore soon, then what is the thing that I'm going to pursue doing? Because nobody likes the idea of leaving one job and then having to go find another job, especially one that might be paying less. There's still this faint echo of the American dream that lives on. Um, and who knows, maybe it'll boom again one day. But I think the message here is just if you're gonna try a side hustle, think through it, figure out if it's something you actually want to do. It'd be great if you could go to work with somebody else for a little while and learn more about it, or at least just get all the information you can about it before you try it, and see how much money you have to invest in even getting started. And I mean, these are the customers you're gonna have to deal with also. And so, regardless, if you don't like your job because you don't like the people you're working with, I mean, it's the same people that are going to be hiring you. People aren't really going to change that much. That's human nature. So you're still going to have to learn to deal with people, regardless of whether they are your coworkers or the people who are hiring you or working around you when you start your business. So I think that's kind of. I probably had a couple of tangents in there, and I'm gonna talk more about some of these things again later on once I can figure out how I'd like to articulate everything a little bit better. But I think that's what I got for today. So I appreciate you joining. Later on.